So your customer emails you and they're asking for a quote. This is how you go about it. Very first thing I do is I look at the print and I observe all the different notes that are around the print, around the title block. Sometimes the notes can be in different corners of the print. This is where your title block is, which is right here. And then the very next thing I do is look at material type. All right. Now, these days, you're going to have to really send out an email to your suppliers to get material quotes first, because it's all over the place, especially with the way things are now. Back in the day, you used to be able to just kind of have a formula and multiply it, add a couple $100 and put that on the material. Now, I would highly recommend getting a quote for your material or any outsourced processes. Now, the next thing I do is look at the tolerances. Are there any close tolerances on the print? Because, you know, if you have a few tenths, that might mean you have to grind the part as opposed to mill it or turn it, depending on what the tolerance is. Then I look at any special tools. Am I going to need long end mills, short end mills, different carbide drills, depending on the quantity, if it's 100 parts versus one part. And then the last thing I do is I process the part from the very, very beginning to the very, very end. And I make sure that I know how I'm going to machine the part all the way through. All it takes is one feature, like a 2 thou hole going through your part, and your price is horribly wrong. So make sure you observe every feature, make sure it's machinable, what machines are you gonna run it on, and then you plug that information into your ERP system. We used to have JobBoss, now we have Fulcrum, and then you type in the process of the part. First you do it on here, second you do it on here, this is how long it's gonna take, and then it will take your process, plug it into your ERP system, take the material quote that you received, put it in your ERP system, and then take your quantity, put it in your ERP system. And what it will do is it will spit out how much money this one part is. Because if you order one part versus 100 parts, that is a very, very different price, because you have just run time as opposed to all of it being your setup time. Because if you have one part, most of it's going to be setup time. But if it's 100 parts, then, you know, it's a lot cheaper. Then the next thing you have to take into account is the due date. Do they need this today? Do they need it tomorrow? Do they need it next week? Is it going to break into a setup that you've already quoted? Because as you guys know, you have hot jobs. Well, those hot jobs, the part itself may be $45, but because it's a hot job, you have to break down an entire setup, put something back up. Well, that shop rate went from $85 an hour to $300 an hour, because you have to do another setup multiple times and you didn't quote that originally. So these are all the different things that go into quoting.